Alright guys, today we're going to talk about different ways of writing linear equations. In section 2.3 we talked about slope-intercept form, and remember your slope-intercept form was y equals mx plus b, where m was your slope, b was your y-intercept. Today we're going to talk about point-slope form. Here is your point-slope form of the equation. It is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Now, in this equation, m, once again, stands for slope. Let me fix that. Okay, m still stands for slope. And the x1 and the y sub 1, those come from a point on the line. Okay, so point-slope form is exactly what it sounds like. In this form, you're going to take a point on the line and the slope and plug them in. And after an example, after we do the first example, we're going to try one where you're given the equation that's got numbers in it, and from that equation you have to pull out a point on the line and figure out the slope and use that information to graph it. So let's start here with problem 1. Okay, they want me to write an equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through -5, 2, and has a slope of 3/5. I'm going to have to increase the font on those fractions from now on. Okay, but my slope is 3/5. So my point-slope form, remember, it's y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So in my ordered pair, this is my x sub 1, this is my y sub 1. So when you're plugging numbers in, you're going to have a number here, here, and here. The other x and y will just stay exactly where they are. So I'm going to have my y minus, now y sub 1 is 2, equals, plug in my slope, so there's my 3/5, x minus, plug in my x sub 1, which is -5. So let's simplify this. Minus a negative becomes plus a positive. So that's y minus 2 equals 3/5 times x plus 5. And this is your point-slope form of the line. Now, what I want you to notice here, take a look at your x and y. My x sub 1 in the ordered pair was a -5. After I finished simplifying my point-slope form, look, it's a +5. Okay. My y sub 1 is a +2. In the simplified form of my point-slope form, it looks like a -2. So if I wanted to look at this equation and get an ordered pair from it, well, this is x, this is y. You just change the sign of both of them. So change the sign of this gives me -5. Change the sign of this would give me a +2. So -5, 2 is a point on the line. Well, yeah, that's the point they gave us. And then I know the slope is 3/5. Okay, that's the concept we're going to use in this extra example down here at the bottom. So for this one, they want me to graph this line that's given to me here. So what I've got to do is I've got to look at this equation and figure out what a point on the line is and what the slope is. Okay, slope's the easy part. Slope is 1/2. Now, to get a point on the line, remember, we're going to change the sign with the x, so that's going to be a positive 4. Change the sign here is negative 3. That is a point on the line. So to graph it, I don't know what the y-intercept is, but it doesn't matter. I know a point that's on the line. So let's plot that. 4, negative 3 is here. From there, I'm going to go up 1 and right 2. Now, I always like to have more than 2 points, just because the more points you have, the more accurate your graph is. So what I want you to remember is that positive 1 over positive 2 is the same as negative 1 over negative 2. And I'm only going to use that for the purpose of plotting more points. So go back to the point that's on the line, and now I'm going to go down 1 and left 2, down 1 and left 2 again. That gives me 4 points. Like I said, the more points you have, the more accurate it's going to be. And then draw in that line. Okay, so it's just like graphing with slope-intercept form, only you don't know the y-intercept. You use this point instead and the slope. So now looking at my graph, I can tell what the y-intercept is. The y-intercept is negative 5. Let's do problem 2. It says that a line passes through 3, 2, and 5, 8. What is an equation of the line in point-slope form? Well, so first thing I need is a point on the line. Well, I've actually got 2 of them. And I need to know the slope. Well, I don't know the slope, but we can find the slope. So step 1, we're going to find the slope. And I'm going to use the slope formula to do that. Okay, so there's my formula. I'm going to take my points and stack them up. So I'm going to put my 3, 2 on top of that 5, 8, just so that it's easier to subtract. So the first y minus the second y gives me negative 6. The first x minus the second x gives me negative 2. So my slope is positive 3. Now I've got to use a point on the line. Does it matter which point I use? No, you can use either one. So I'm going to write 2 equations. Okay, I'm going to write one using this point and this slope. So that will be y, change the sign of the 2, equals 3 times x, change the sign of the 3 in that ordered pair, and this is your equation. Now let's write another equation using this ordered pair. So y minus, change the sign of my 8, okay, so it's y minus 8. Here's my slope, and x, change the sign of your 5, so it's minus 5. That is another equation of the line that goes through both of those points. Now, I know these 2 equations look totally different, and that's fine. Both of these answers are correct. If you were to simplify them to slope-intercept form, you would end up with the same equation. Okay, your book didn't ask us to do that, but we could. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for both of them just to show you that the slope-intercept form will be the same. Okay, like I said, this is not part of what your book asked, it's just something extra we're going to do. So what I'm going to do over here is distribute my 3. So I've got y minus 2 equals 3x minus 9. Then I've got to add 2 to both sides, and I end up with y equals 3x minus 7. Let's do the same thing for this equation over here. Distribute your 3. So you have y minus 8 equals 3x minus 15. Add your 8 to both sides. So y equals 3x minus 7. So you can see that you get the same slope-intercept form. But depending on which ordered pair you use, when you write it in point-slope form, it looks different. Okay? And so sometimes they'll give you 2 points like this, and they'll ask for it in point-slope form. If they do, you plug it all in and you stop. Sometimes they'll ask for it in slope-intercept form. If they want it in slope-intercept form, you have to start with point-slope and then simplify it to slope-intercept. And it does not matter which of these you simplify because you're going to get the same thing. Okay, let's stop this video here and we'll pick up with part 2 in just a minute.